Okay, so today's topic is about LOD functions. So LOD is nothing but level of details. So this is very most important topic in Tableau. So with this, we can create some advanced level of calculations and advanced level charts we can create using this LOD functions, and how to answer business questions using LOD functions. So the objective is, the learning objects for this session are what are LOD expressions. So what are LOD expression and how LODs help Tableau visualization look better, and how LOD expressions work. So all these three things we are going to know in this session. So what are LOD expressions? LOD expressions provide a way to easily compute aggregations that are not at the level of detail of the visualization. So level of detail is basically depends on the dimension. Okay, depends on dimension and how many number of dimensions that you use in the worksheet. Okay, so now I will tell you what is level of detail, so that we can go to the calculations and all. Okay, so now that here I have, let me take one example. So level of details is mostly based on the dimensions. So level of details is mostly based on the dimensions, and let me take few dimensions: region and city and postal code, and I'll take sales. Even if I take any number of measures into my worksheet or workspace, so this is called as workspace. So any number of dimensions or any number of measures that I take, so that won't decide the level of detail. So level of detail is only depends on the dimension. So I can say what is the level of, if I say what is the level of detail for this particular worksheet, for this sheet 2, so I can say it is customer name, region, city, and postal code. Okay, so the level of detail of this sheet is completely based on this dimension. So based on the dimensions, we will choose this level of detail. And let's say if I add one more column or one more dimension into this field. Okay, so the level of detail of this workspace, I can tell. So it will be considering state also. And if you remove any of the columns, so it doesn't matter any number of measures that you have. So level of details will only be decided based on the dimensions that we use. Even if I had discount, if I have discount in this view, I will not decide level of detail based on the measures that I have. I will only consider the dimensions that are there. So even if the date is also there, date is also one of the level of detail. So based on the level of detail, we will write the functions. So most of the level of detail LODs, not most of the LODs are based on dimensions. Okay, so and whenever someone asks you what is the level of detail of this worksheet, the current worksheet that I am showing, so you can tell these are the level LOD of the sheet 2. So in this workspace, as I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dimensions, so then I can tell so the level of detail of this workspace is based on these 6 dimensions. Okay, so where and all it will applicable. So there is a image that I can show you. Okay, this is also can be called as a Viz LOD. So what is the Viz LOD? So when someone asks you what is the Viz LOD of your workspace, so what is the LOD of your Viz LOD? So if someone asks you like what is the Viz LOD, so you can tell whatever the dimensions that are being used in the workspace. So those are called as Viz LODs. So in this case, I'm using 6 dimensions. So I can tell Viz LOD of this particular workspace is 6 dimensions, and those 6 dimensions are customer name, region, city, postal code, and date. So this way we can decide Viz LOD. And what is the usage of this LOD functions? LOD functions. Okay. So LOD functions enable us to manipulate or change the way the Viz LOD works. Yeah. So change the way the Viz LOD works. So that's the objective of this LOD function. So in any visualization that we create, so by default, Viz LOD will be appearing. Let's say even if I create a bar chart that we have discussed earlier, let's create a pie chart, and yeah. So when I ask for Viz LOD, what is the Viz LOD of this particular worksheet? So that is region. So it has only one dimension, which is region. So then I can say, does anyone have any question? Okay. Yeah, MoisinCon, the new batch is in morning session, which is at 11 a.m. So this 11 p.m. session, it started from 21st batch, from 21st session. So to find out the Viz LOD, so this dimension, so there is only one dimension in this chart. So we can say the Viz LOD of this particular visualization, it is region. And if I create region, and if I take state, okay. So even if you use this region country in the level of, so in detail marks card, so this will also be considered as a visual LOD. So there are places. So if you use this dimensions in row shelf, column shelf, in marks card, then only it will be considered as a visual LOD. And there are places which it will not be considered as a visual LOD. I will show you which are those places. So if you apply dimensions in page shelf or in filter shelf or in tooltip, so that will not be considered as a visual LOD. So let's say in this, I will take sales and profit. Okay, now I have a number like this, or you can just put this. Okay, and if I put any dimension, customer name in tooltip, okay, so this will not have any change in the data or in the viz. There will not be any change. So if you are using dimensions in tooltip, so then there is, so the visuality of this particular sheet is nothing, like there is no visuality at all. And even if you use columns in filters, still there will be no visuality. And if you use it in page shelf, then also it will not consider. Okay, so these are the 3 places. If you put dimensions in these 3 places, page shelf or filter shelf or in tooltip, so we won't consider it as a visual LOD. Only if you put in the detail marks card or in the color marks card, size, label, in the rows or column shelf, then only we will consider it as a visual LOD. So here you can see the image. So in this image, whatever is in highlighted with red boxes, only those will be considered as a visual LOD. So if you put dimensions in columns or rows or in this space, or in color, marks card, size, label, path, detail. So in any of the place, if you use dimensions, so those dimensions will be part of this visual loading. If you use in page shell for filters or in tooltip, so it will not change the visual level of detail. So that's why the dimensions which are kept in these shelves, this marks card in tooltip marks card, that won't be considered as a visual loading. So we need to understand about visual loading to understand about LOD calculation. So now that we know what is visual loading, so as we have used 6 dimensions in row shelf only, so all these 6 dimensions will be considered as a visual loading. So which changes the visualization level of detail. So if you remove customer name, so the visualization will change. So that's the importance of visual loading. Yeah. So now we will discuss. So now we will discuss about the 3 main functions which are there. So LOD functions. So does anybody know what are LOD functions? So there are 3 main functions which are available. Does anybody know? Yeah, include, exclude, and fixed. So these are the 3 functions. So with these 3 functions only, we will write the LOD calculation. And I will show you the syntax to write. Okay, so before writing the syntax, I will tell you what is the significance of this include, exclude, and fixed. Okay, so now that we have include, okay, so let's say visual OD has 5 dimensions. Let's say visual OD has 5 dimensions. Okay, whenever some dimension which is not there in the visual OD, if you want to include 6th dimension, but not in the visual OD, but not in the visualization, but in the calculation. So I will give you one classic example. So before giving this example, I will just write the syntax for this. So every LOD function will start with curly braces. So curly braces are mandatory for any LOD function, and you need to keep dimension, any dimension you want to keep. So this is optional. If you want, you can give, or you can leave it as it is. No, for include it is not optional. For fixed it is optional. For include you need to give a dimension for sure, and you need to give colon and sum of any measure, and close the curly braces. So this is the syntax that you need to write, and aggregation is mandatory. So if you don't write any aggregation, you will get aggregation error. So aggregation function is mandatory. Okay, so now that we have created, we know about this include function. Now let's see how we can use that in the Tableau. So I will take a simple example. So where I will take region, or I will take country. Okay, in country I have 2 countries, and I'll take sales. Okay. So, and I will take one, okay, I will consider, I will make this as average, and I will take one more sales. Okay. Yeah, so can anyone tell me how this average is getting calculated? Sum of all sales divided by 2. No, it's so it will find out the records. So I'll just show you one example. Divided by number of Canada records. Number of Canada records. Yeah. So I'll just copy this data. So you can see my Excel file, right? So I'll just select the country. I will select Canada. Okay. So it will do the sum of all these records, which is 5278.76. Okay. 5278.76. And what is the count? 23. So the count of records. So basically the average will do sum of the amount divided by number count of those records. So which is 23. So now I will do division. This divided by this, which is 229. So now we will see, yeah, 229.51. So which it will round it as 230. So we got this as 230. Okay. And now we'll select United States. Okay, what is the sum of this? 223402. 223402. 402.51. Double 23402. 223402.51. And what is the count? 977. 977. So this divided by this one, which will give you 228.66. So which will be rounded off to 229. One second. Maybe we are not getting all the rows. Okay, so I'll show you it in Tableau itself. Maybe it is not picking all the records. So I'll show you. So the sum of sales is 29,333. So let's take 29,333. And what is the count? What is the number of records? So number of records, you can get it. Okay, so number of records are this. So 200. So this divided by this gives you 147. So basically, sum of sales divided by number of records. And the same way, 2297201 divided by 9994. So which gives you, I will tell you why I'm explaining in this way. So there is a connection 229 point something. So which is rounded off to 230. So this is the normal average that we are doing. See where it is taking the average based on each and every row. So this is without LOD functions we have written. So this is without LOD functions. Okay. And I'll make a duplicate of this one. So I want to create this with LOD functions. So in this, what I will do is I'll create a calculated field and I'll create include function. I'll create include function, and where I will write include region. I want to include whichever is the next column. So country, after we have this region column, right? So I will include that. So this is currently, what is the visibility of this sheet? Sandeep, can you tell me what is the visibility? Yeah, perfect. So we are using only one dimension in the workspace. So we call visibility as only one dimension, which is country region. And I want to include one more column, one more dimension in the calculation, which is not there in the visualization. So include function is to include the dimension which is not there in the visual loading. Okay. So the definition of include function, to include the dimension which is not in visual loading. So that's the definition of include function. And I will take sum of sales. And I'll put curly braces. Say okay. So what I'm telling to this, by this calculation, what I'm trying to say is, I want to sum it based on the region. Say okay. And I'll use this include function. Okay. Even if you sum it based on the region, the sum will be same. Right. So even if you do it as, so in any ways, if you calculate the addition, so if you do it based on each and every row, or if you sum it based on each and every region, the sum will be same. But when you do average, so if you see, when you have done average based on all rows, you got this much. But when you have done average based on this thing, you got more average. I will tell you why. So take an example, country, region, and here you take region and sales. Okay. So now we are calculating average for Canada. So how this is calculating? So it will, so I told to do the average based on the region. So can anyone tell me how can be average calculated for this Canada? Can you tell me the average for Canada by seeing this chart? Raviteja, can you make it a try? Just tell me the calculation. I will write it in the Excel. Okay, 1931 plus 13047 14356. Okay, you will do the summation of all these three. Okay, divided by, okay, I'll do it here only, which is 9778. So if you see it here, it is doing 9778. So same goes for United States. So it will do the sum of all these four, which is 2297201. So 2297201 201 divided by 4. So which is 5,74,300. So if you see in the visual OD, we don't have any region column. So we don't have this column. So we have not taken that column in the visual OD. So, but still we have included that in the calculation. So based on that, we are calculating the average. So earlier what happened, it has taken the total. So whatever is the total, it has taken, and it has taken the number of records. So in this way, it has filtered on in all the rows. It has filtered the country, Canada, like this, and it has taken the count of records, and it divided with this total value. But in case of region, what happened? It is just taking the sum. So sum will be same across. In this case also sum is 29,333. In this case it is I mean the sum is same. In this case also it is sum is same, but the division is getting changed here. Okay, in region now the division is only 3 for Canada, and for United States it's 4. But in this case it has taken all the number of records. So that's the difference. So now let me show you for one more dimension. So I'll take country again, and I will also take state. Now I will take state. Okay, and I'll take sales, and I will create. I'll go to LOD functions. I'll create a calculation field. I will also want to include state. So this is the syntax. So you need to mention that dimension here and put colon and sum of sales. So if you use sum as an aggregation, so it will be same for all the functions, but you will find the difference when you use average. So this is include state. I'll write the name as include state. Say okay. Click on this, double click on this too. Okay. So when I use sum as an aggregation, sum of include state, it is giving me normal sum, which is the, so this is normal sales that I have taken. So it is giving as similar as sum of sales. But when I do an average, so it will do average based on the state values. Okay. So it will divide 29,333 by how many number of states that Canada has. So how many? It has 10. Okay, Canada has 10. That means 2,933. So 29,333 divided by 10, which gives you 2,933. In the same way, United States, this is your sum of sales, and you divide it by the number of records for states. So there are 49 states under United States. So I will divide this number. Double 297,201 divided by 49, which will be 46,882. So in this way, uh, even if the dimension is not present in the visual LOD, we can still include those dimensions in the calculation. So that is about include. Okay, so this is the syntax for writing include function. And so the definition of include is to include dimension which is not present in visual LOD. Okay, even if it is not there in visual LOD, we can include that dimension. Okay, so now we will see about exclude. So the syntax will almost be same, only the starting letters will change. You can replace it with exclude. So the syntax is same. So by definition also, so we have included the dimension which is not there, but in exclude function, we will exclude the dimension. To exclude dimension which is present in the visual LOD. Okay, if you have 3 or 4 dimensions, but you want to exclude one dimension from the calculation, that we can do using exclude function. So now we'll see how we can use that in Tableau. So I'll write this as with include LOD functions. Include LOD functions. So let me delete these sheets. Okay, so now I will take some dimensions. I'll take country, I'll take region, and I'll take state, province, and city. Okay, so now that we have different, so what is the visual LOD for this one? Suganya, can you tell me what is the visual LOD for this visualization? Yeah, perfect. So we have all these 4 dimensions which are visual LODs, and now I will take sales. Okay, so whenever you take only one measure, this you can't see this header coming up. So whenever you are using one measure, you can type uh, in single quotes that measure name, and you can right click on this and hide field labels. Okay, if you are using multiple measures, let's say if you are taking one more profit, you can see that header is coming up, but that will not happen when you use single measure. So that will be there. So to get that header, you can simply write in the column shell with single quotes like this. You can get that header. Okay, so now that we have sales here, okay, so we have this sales value and all, and I will write a calculation. I'll write a calculation for exclude function. So exclude. So if you select the exclude function, so directly it will start with curly braces. You don't need to start with curly, or you can directly select the function. And I want to exclude. So there are 4 dimensions: country, region, state, and city. So I want to exclude city. I want to exclude city and do sum of sales. Say okay. Okay, so now that I have created this, say okay. So I'll double click on this. Okay, I have taken profit change. Okay, we'll take sales. Okay, so we have 2 numbers here. Okay. So now I will tell you what is it showing. So this is with exclude LOD function. Okay. So what it is showing is, so now that we have removed city, which is there in the LOD, I mean, which is there in the visual LOD, we have 4 columns, but in the calculation, I want to remove exclude function. Sorry, I want to remove this city column. So it has removed that city column. How it has removed, I will show you with an example. So I will take only these 3 columns in the next sheet. I will take region, country region, region, and state. And sales, I will take it. Okay. Okay, now it is showing the exactly, so whatever calculation that we have written, so that is exactly showing these values. So that is exactly showing these values. So you have, whenever you have each state has one city, then it will be same across. So this state has only one city, it is showing you this one. So I will show you one big example. So central Illinois state has multiple cities. So what is it doing? So when you remove city, what will happen? It will show you the total of this thing. The total is 80,166. So that is the value it is showing for you. So it is it is not considering city column itself. So that's why it is showing you 80,166. So if you go to the sheet 9 and check for Illinois, so go to United States, Central Illinois has the value 18,166. Okay, so if you go to this sheet, so the exclude function which we have written, that is not considering this city column only. So that's why you got this. And there are some cases, these two values are matching. Sales and this thing is matching. Why? Because British Columbia has only one city. Okay, so there is nothing to change. So if you go to British Columbia, so the value of that state itself is 2763. Okay, there is only one city in British Columbia, which is Vancouver. Okay, so it is the value of Vancouver, which is going to British Columbia, which is 2763. So whenever it is two values, so whenever it is one value, it match. So whenever it is two values, if you see, so it is not considering city. So that is why it is not splitting this value. So basically 11,460 is for Alberta state, and Alberta state has two cities. So 10,972 sales is coming from Calgary, and 489 sales is coming from Edmonton. So that is the, I mean, in this way we can exclude the dimension which is there in the visual LOD. So I'll just take a pause. So if you have any questions, you can ask. Yeah. So then both will match. Then both are same. Yeah. So what that calculation does is it is removing the city itself. So if you remove city in the visual LOD, it will be same. We are already excluding. If you exclude from the visual LOD, so then it's okay. It will do normal sum. Yeah. So whenever you do some percent of total calculations, then it will work. So I'll show you one example. So let's say state and take sales. Okay, and so if I want to calculate percent of total calculation, so divide sum of sales divided by exclude sum of exclude state sum of sales. Okay, so here what I'm doing is, so what is the visual LOD for this one, for sheet 10? Yeah, state is the visual LOD. So what I'm doing is I'm just excluding this state. So now what it will show is it will show the total. So what if I remove this state, so you get the total 22325634. So that value you can get in the denominator. So you can say this as percent of total. Say okay. Percent total. So right click on this format, click on percentage. Okay, so with this you can know what is the percent of total. So if you want to know what is the contribution of each and every state, so California is giving more contribution. You can compare with the other states, $457,688. So those type of scenarios we can use exclude. Yeah, so here also, if you see, I will tell you here also. So with LOD, exclude LOD function. So here you want to calculate the percent of total. only based on the state and city. Then we can make use of this. So create calculated field, sum of sales divided by exclude function. Okay. So percent of total only based on state and city. State and city. Or you can say state level. Say okay. Okay, so format, select percentage. Percent of total, sorry. Sorry, this has to be in the down. Percent of total only. One second, sorry, I was doing the wrong column. One second, Control Z. Click on format and make this as percentage. Yeah. So if you see, so 1931 divided by 1931. So in this city, this state, so this city, only one city is there. So one city is there in that state. So 100% contribution. So whatever sales is coming, that is coming only because of Winnipeg. So that is giving 100% of contribution. So Quebec, Montreal. So $3,000 are coming from Montreal and $774 coming from Quebec City. So it's almost 80% and 20% is coming from Quebec City. So this type of percentage calculations we can do. So this we are calculating only at the city level, or you can say state level. So as we are just excluding city. Is it clear? This one? Okay. Sorry, can you repeat your question? Yeah, this will include this calculation. So if you see, this is the calculation name, exclude function. So that will include this one, exclude city sum of sales. No. We have excluded only city. State we have not excluded. So I'm saying this percentage is coming based on state. So in this state, we have two cities. So in this, I mean, the contribution is based on only at the level of state, I'm saying. You got my point? Yeah. So based on what is the value that is coming. So okay. So individual value, you can see Calgary, normal sum of sales, you can see the individual value. But when we are excluding the city, we can see the state level values only. As let's say when you are excluding the city. So if I exclude the city, what will be the value? I can see the state values. Okay, so if I keep this state value in the denominator and the normal sum of sales in the numerator, so I can see the percentage contribution of each and every city in the state. So that thing I can see. Is it clear? Okay. So that's about how we can use this LOD function in real time. And yeah, so the syntax and the definition is to exclude dimension which is present in Visual LOD. And syntax is similar to what we have written for include function. So this just need to remove the include and use the exclude function. And now we will talk about the fixed function. So it will also be just similar to whatever we have written previously. So just replace it with fixed, and to fix the dimension, to fix the dimension. Okay, so it will not consider whatever dimensions that are there in the visual LOD. So it will not consider. Okay, so it won't consider whatever the visual LOD dimensions are there. Whatever dimension that we have fixed. So in that level only, it will do the sum or average. So it is based on that only. So now we'll see fixed LOD. And there are some other types also we can use. Okay, so if you write a fix, there are ways you can write like this also. So other include and exclude you can't write like this. Only for fixed you have this option. Okay, and you can write like this also, sum of sales. Okay, so there is a significance of this thing. So it is fixing at whole level, and you will get total sum of records in this case. Even in this case also you get the same. Even in this case also you will get the same. Doing the whole sum of record in the sense, if you go here, if I take sales and if I put it in the text, so this is the 23,26,534 value which you have. So if you use any of these two calculations, so without dimensions in the LOD function, so if you use this calculation, every time it will show you this 23,26,534. It will not change the number. So even if you keep n number of dimensions in your visual LOD, it will not consider. So now I will show you how these three things work. So I'll just put curly braces and I'll write sum of sales. And I'll put this thing. So I will use this as fixed LOD. Okay, say okay. Fixed LOD. And I'll change the formatting to number custom. This also to number custom. So this is the formatting that we can do for numbers. So you just need to right click on the measure and do the LODs for this. Okay, so we have created this. So now that we have two different sales amount, and now I'll start keeping the dimensions. I'll put country. I'll put it in the rows shelf itself. Okay, so if you see the fixed LOD which we have written is not getting changed. 1 second. Okay, yeah. So whatever is the value it was there earlier, 23,26,534 is the total value. But when I use country or region, so remember this 23,26,534. So I'll just make a note. So 23 lakh 26,534 is the total value. Okay. And now I'm using country. So that 23 lakh, I'll put it here. Yeah. So 23 lakh 26,534 split it into two. So 29,333 for normal sales. So 23 lakh got splitted into two for Canada and United States. So two different values you can see for normal sales. But when you see, I'll put this on the top. Yeah. Okay. For Canada, you see a different value. For United States, you see a different value. But for fixed LOD, you can still see the total value, which is 23 lakh 26,534. Even if you keep any number of dimensions, let's say I will use one more dimension, region, it will still show the same number. But for normal sales, it will split whatever number it has for Canada Central, it will have a different number. For Canada East, it will have a different number. So in the same way, you can keep multiple dimensions. This number won't change as we have fixed at one level. You can keep any number of dimensions as we have fixed this at a higher level. So this won't change. And so you can write this same function in another way also. So if you write fix also, it will be same. Say apply. Okay. So in two ways you can write. So these are those two ways. Okay. If you write curly braces sum of sales, or if you write curly braces fixed sum of sales, see this both will result in same output. So it will not consider any dimensions that you keep in the visualization. And now that we have seen at this level, okay, so now I will fix at one category level or one country. So now I will fix it at country level. Say okay, say apply. So now that we have visuality at country level, and I have also fixed it at country level. So both outputs will be same. And say okay. And I will put state, and I'll put city. Okay. Lakshmi, can you tell me what is the visuality here? Yeah, all the three dimensions. Yeah, correct. So all the three dimensions are considered as visualities. Okay, so now that we have this thing, so let me go to this fixed LOD. So not only one dimension, you can add multiple dimensions. So you can put one comma. You can write other dimensions also, and you can write multiple dimensions. Not only in fixed LOD, you can write multiple columns in in include function and also in exclude function. So now that we have country, state, and city. So if I do, and visuality is at level of country, state, city. So now, like, what is the value of fixed LOD? So Suganya, can you tell me if I write like this, what will be the value of fixed LOD? Is it same or is it different? Yeah, perfect. So as in the visual LOD also we have three dimensions, and here also you are trying to fix it at three dimensions. So the value will be same. Okay. Yeah. So the value will be same. So this will also act like a exclude function. So now we have 3 dimensions. So here, if you exclude city, now it will act like a exclude function also. Okay. So if you see, now we have only excluded city from this. So it is showing you Alberta value, which is the total of these 2 cities, which is 11,460. So now we can use fixed LOD functions also similar to what we have written for exclude function. So real time usage, you can use the same type of usage where you can calculate the percent of total. So percent of total. So sum of sales divided by fixed function, fixed LOD. Attribute of fixed LOD. So what does attribute does is, it will write only one value. So even if in the rows, let's say you have multiple records like this, 25, 25, 25. Okay, when you do attribute for this, it will give you one value, which is 25. So that's the definition. So returns the value of the given expression if it only has single value for all rows. So okay, if it has, so in this scenario, if you have 11,460, it got repeated twice. So even if it is repeating twice, it will give you one value, which is 11,400. Not only twice, if you have n number of records also, which is getting repeated, and if you write attr function, it will give you one value. So in this case also, I want one value. So that's why I have written it. Okay, percent of total is already exists. I will write percent of total using fixed function. Okay, so apply. And this is the calculation name. This includes this fixed calculation, or I can write that calculation here itself. The curly fixed country, comma state, comma city, sum of sales. So here we are trying to exclude city, so we'll remove this and we'll write attr function. Yeah. Say okay. So, format. Yeah. So this is how we can calculate percent of total. So in tomorrow's session, I will give you some real-time scenarios where you can use this functions, LOD functions. Basically, this is the explanation of like what is the definition of LOD functions and how we can use these LOD functions with small calculations and all. So tomorrow's session, so I will tell you how to use this in the graphs, how to use it in the cohort analysis. So I will tell you some business analysis charts, so where this can be used. Okay, so with this, we have completed this LOD introduction. So this is an introduction class for LOD functions. So in tomorrow's session, we are going to discuss more about LOD functions. So any questions? Mhm. So it's basically, so when I excluded city, so basically it is giving you state value. Okay, so I'm just fixing it at level of country and state. So basically what it is storing, this state value. So whenever I divide sum of sales divided by state value, that will give me percent of total of this of that state. So I will show you that calculation. Percent of total, yeah, by using fixed function. Okay, yeah. So this is normal sum of sales that I have written in the numerator. In numerator, you can see there's normal sales, 10,972. So in the below, what I'm doing is I am fixing it at country and region level. So country and state level. Okay, what will be the country and state value, which is sum of these two? Okay, so this sum of, yeah. So if you want to calculate for this one, I'll just show you. Okay, so sum of sales means which is 10,972. Okay, and divided by, as we are excluding or we are just fixing at country and region level, country and state level. What is the state value? So what is the state value? We have written it based on fixed LOD. It is showing 11,460. So which will give you 95.7, which is rounded up to 96%. So basically it is storing the state value. So when you exclude, what happens when you exclude city, it is obviously it will be state only. The next column which is there. Okay. So that is about LOD functions. So these are much useful. Why? Because so normal calculation, whatever you do, we are writing it based on the visual LODs. So we are writing it based on whatever is there in the visualization, based on this dimension, based on measures and all. But what is the difference between LODs and normal calculation is, so we are doing, we are eliminating or we are including the dimensions which are not part of the visual LODs, which are not part of this space where we are having these dimensions and all. So that is the reason these LOD functions are very crucial and very important in Tableau. Yes. So any other questions? Okay. Okay, you can ask now. You want to see the context filter? Your voice is so low. Can you talk near to the mic? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Sure, sure. I'll share this notepad. Yeah, Lakshmi, tell me. Yeah, so next session, I will get you some examples. So in the next session, I have few different charts and all. So there is one cohort analysis. So in that cohort analysis, we'll compare each and every month from the previous months and all. So that we will do the comparison between this month, this year to last month, last year values. So that type of comparison we do by using this LOD functions. So that I will tell you tomorrow how we can do. Yeah. Yeah, Narayan. Mm-hmm. Dimensions are. Hmm. Correct. Yes. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. It will exclude the dimension which is there in the this LOD. Mhm. Okay, correct. Yeah, Preet, you were asking something? Yeah. Okay, so okay, so with this, yeah, okay, so yeah, I'll tell them. Yeah, so if anybody wants to listen about context filters, they can be in the call. Otherwise, you can leave the call. Feel free to. Yeah. Okay. Actually, it has already been discussed in the previous classes, but as Preet has asked, I'll just and that will not take much time. So I'll just tell in 5 minutes. So I'll take an example of region and I'll take state and I'll take sales and I'll put two filters. One is state filter and I'll select top five, go to top and select five. And I'm doing top five based on sum of sales. Say okay. So now I can see top five states. So and if I apply region filter, okay, okay, Preet, can you tell me if I exclude West from this? So how many number of states I can see? So okay, so basically I have applied top five filter here. Okay, first of all I have applied top five filter, top five states. Okay, Pennsylvania. Say okay. So you can see three. So what is happening with the normal filters? These both filters are getting applied. So I will tell you when I make this context filter, as I have applied top five filters, top five states, every time I want to see top five states. So I'll just make a copy. So this is normal filters. I'll just make a duplicate and I'll create context filters in this. Okay, so when I make this as a context, okay, so I have selected central and east and I'll make it as context. It will show you top five. So what Tableau is doing is, so when I select these two filters, right, central and east. So I'll just take new notepad. So when I create region and select, let's say one region I have selected, West region. Okay, what Tableau does is, in context filter, let's say you have some 250 records in this. Okay, so when you convert this into context filter, so it will create a temporary table. Okay, and whatever you filters that you apply on top of that. Okay, let's say I have applied top five filters. Okay, whatever filters that I have applied, now it is taking only from this temporary table, not from all regions. Okay, so in regions I have west, east, central, and south. Okay, so in context, I have selected west. So let's select west here. So if I select west, so it will filter on west region, and whatever is the top five in west region, those states will be visible. But in case of normal filter, what happens is, the normal filter, if you select west, Okay. So what it has done, it is applying both filters. So it has done top 5. It has it is doing west also. So the combination of filters it is doing. Yeah. Yeah. So this will become your higher filter, highest topmost filter. Only after that, other filters will get applied. In this, mhm, which it depending on your requirement. See, in other cases, it will work as normal filter only. See, in this case, we have top 5, and you can see the difference. And in other cases, like if you take region, okay, and if you take country, okay, and this state or region only. Okay, in this case, both, even if you convert both to context, make it as duplicate, remove from context. So in this case, if I apply United States or Canada, you can see Canada. In this case, if you see Canada, you can see both same. Why? Because you don't have any top 5 or something like that. This is the only scenario where you can explain about context. And there is one more reason why we use context filter is to improve the performance. To improve the performance. So how I am saying this is, so let's say West region has 250 records, East has 250 records, Central has 250 records, and this also has 250 records. So in total, you have 1000 records. Okay. And when you use normal filters and all, what it does is every time it will check for this 1000 records and it will filter on east, or it will filter on central, and other filters will look upon the thousand records every time. But in case of context, what happens is, let's say you have filtered on 250 records, which is west you have selected. Okay, so the other filters where you apply, it will only look for this 250 filter, I mean 250 records, and then apply the filter. Let's say on this you have applied some country filter, US. So it will only look upon these 250 records. Why? Because you have already context filter 250 records. But in case of normal filter also, if you have filtered West region 250 and country you have selected US, it will still be searching for 1000 records. In this 1000 records, what is West and what is US, it will search for all the 1000 records. So in this way, it can improve the performance. And in normal cases, both the output is same. Only in this scenario, whatever I have explained you, only when you are having top 5, or if you are using top 5, bottom 5 set filters or calculation filters, only in this scenario, you will see the difference. That's why I'm taking this example. Is it clear? Okay. Any other questions, Preet and other people? Okay. Okay, then thank you all for joining. We'll continue in the next session.